Okay, all right. SIG release. Today is April 8th, the day of the total solar eclipse in the US. So, uh, so one of the things, as I'm updating, Victor, Victor, do you want to talk about that today? In general, I wanted to talk about two things. The branching strategy we started, we had started a GitHub discussion. Let's close in on that one, and also the integration testing framework, what we want to do, how we want to start doing the integration testing in Nefio using the first-class integration testing tool, uh, and then uh, Victor had one more idea about that. So Victor, you want to do that, or do you want to take? Should we discuss the branching first?
No, let's start discussing the branching strategy, and I guess that would be good enough for this session for today.
Okay, cool. So I like we discussed the branching one, stable versus individual branch. Then the suggestion from the community was to start a discussion, GitHub discussion, which I did. I'm not sure if there is any inputs, but in general, we were leaning towards having a branch per release that would alleviate most of our concerns in the sense of cutting a release, our special case with the catalogs, and our desire to apply fixes if the need be, and if we reach a situation where we have to support multiple releases from the community perspective, and cherry pick certain security fixes, etc. I think those things will be served with that method. So I think that's where we were leaning. I created a discussion. Is there any other input, or do you think we should go with that? Okay, Wim says
the inputs, but I gave some comments there because I think there's two separate things that we should discuss in my view. One is catalog versus the others.
Okay.
Catalog is a bit of a special thing, I think, in my view.
Okay.
So, but I gave my comment to it, I think.
Let me open that. Yeah.
Yeah.
See your comment. Yeah.
I put a link to the discussion in chat. So if anyone wants to check this.
Yeah, thank you.
Not sure what I think about it, but that's my view.
Yeah. So you're saying that we need to use a different strategy for catalog and to the rest, and the rest of the repos is different. Is that what you're suggesting from the branching perspective, Wim?
Yeah, I even would say, yeah, correct. Yes, I even would say that for catalog, you almost can have a branch per package.
Branch per package. How do we even do that? It's all in the same repo.
That's fine, right? So you just create a branch per package. And you iterate the branch because there is no real dependencies. I see what we have to do is basically, and then we tag them, right? So if we make a release, we tag them, right? So there is no real relationship amongst any of them. So you can basically tag a particular branch, right? So your tag can be related to a branch. Makes it way more easy to manage, I think.
You're particularly talking about the catalog, right? I just wanted to make sure.
The others, I would not advocate this strategy, but see, the thing is the following, right? If you change something in a package,
yeah,
right? Typically, you don't even have to merge it.
Change something. Yeah, I sorry, probably I'm having a hard time understanding that. And sorry, Wim. So if you could explain that when you say you don't have to merge it.
Yes, because see the challenge that you get when you merge, right? You get all of these dependencies between each other, right? And you have to manage them somehow. I mean, we could merge them, but there is no point in doing it.
Can you give an example, for example, if you, that may help?
See, let's say I have a bug in Multus, right? There's a new flavor of Multus coming along, right?
Okay.
I just update the Multus branch.
Okay.
Why should I put it to main?
Oh, okay. So if you were to do a one branch per package, that's what you're suggesting.
Yes, yeah.
If we are going that far, doesn't it make sense to have a different repo for each package?
Yes, but okay, then you end up with a gazillion packages, right? A gazillion repos.
Yeah, I think this may complicate.
Much harder, I think.
Yeah, it's harder, but even then, this may also be harder, isn't it? When, for example, if you end up creating a branch, first of all, I don't know if it is when you create a branch of a repo, the whole code base is going to be reflected in the branch, not only the package.
No. It depends on what your starting point of the branch is.
Let's say today we branch a catalog today, the way it is today. How does it look?
So if you branch, you depends where you start from, right? You could start from the initial commit if you want. Depends on the origin of your branch.
Yeah, we have, let's say 40 packages. That will be a slightly difficult task, Wim, if you want to do that way. If you want to create a branch in such a way that the branch will only contain that package from the existing repo, don't you think it's going to be difficult?
In my view, no, because they all anyhow have their own directory structure. See, anyhow, each of our packages have its own directory,
but
right?
Isn't it? The hard time I'm trying to understand is why will it simplify the release process? Because at this point of time, we have to track the branch name for each of the packages when we do that catalog repo.
Yes, but there is a one-to-one relationship between a package and a branch and a tag and the rest of the repo. So you basically just use the package, the repo as a container. That's it.
Yeah, but if we do one, sorry, Wish you have a hands raised. Go ahead, Wish.
Yeah. So what we have for Nephew is probably more like an example at this point of time for packages, right? In reality, we don't expect everybody to start putting their packages in Nephew packages catalog is what I'm assuming, right? Because
yeah, not the third party, right? Third parties will not put.
Correct.
For example, even if you see today, Wish, the OAI core, right? OAI core packages are not with us. It's in it's with the OSC repo, sorry, it's in the OAI repo, and that's exactly how we wanted it.
Correct. Yeah. So I mean, I'm trying to think with this discussion between you and Wim. For us, we probably have certain core packages, right? Which are going to be that needs to be probably tagged for a certain release, right?
Yeah.
It seems to me that if you want to bring up Nephew core, these tags is probably what you need to go off and pull if you want to install it as a component in your management cluster, for example, on our ACM, basically on Red Hat's ACM. So we need to identify probably pieces like that, which that combine to form that solution that gives it what we can deploy and we'll be able to successfully run. And then there might be other things, maybe very specific to Maltus or anything. If we need to pull in, that can be its own separate repo. Yeah, I mean, that's where even I was also thinking, how does it really, how can you just keep it as a branch or a tag? And how could you differentiate it? Or how can you actually show that dependencies with other packages?
See, so if I may, the following, right? So let's say we want to tag Maltus package, right? Why do we, or Nefio package, right? So Nefio core. Why do we tag also the related files of Maltus with that same tag? There's no point,
Because
right?
it's part of that particular, I mean, in that particular case, Wim, I'm going to think like, oh, this is what we use in the R2 release, the Nefio core.
Yeah, but see, the problem is in that repo, right? The fact that a Nefio package is tagged with a Maltus tag doesn't make any sense.
With Maltus, okay, because it's on the workload cluster only, maybe.
Yeah, no, because so the problem is that we tag a certain main, right? So that means everything within that release is tagged. But there's no point in tagging a Maltus tag onto a Nefio package. You see, so there is all this. So with the current structure, we tag things that are not even relevant. If you go for a per branch per package approach, what you do is you tag the branch based on the information in there. So there is no tag of Maltus anywhere except for the Maltus related component. So it's very clear. There's no file tag Maltus that has nothing to do with Maltus.
I'm alternately thinking aloud here, because I was looking at free 5GC, the workload, because another angle I was looking at is for a certain workload, like for free 5GC, right? We had a bunch of kernel modules. We had to do a bunch of OS level configurations we had to do.
But that's not in catalog, right? So that's not in catalog. So catalog is basically the packages that are related to a specific thing, right? So a package at the moment, if you look to how we use catalog, there is a subdirectory in the repo that is actually the root of a package, okay? And only the files from that root is actually what's contained in the package, right? Now, if you tag a certain main, so if you merge, let's take the example of two packages. I have package A, subdirectory A, and package B, subdirectory B, okay? They both get, so what we do today, they both get merged into main, right? If you now want to tag package A, you also tag the files of B, okay? And if you tag B, you also tag the files of A. With what I'm proposing is, you basically create a branch for package A and package B. You only tag, the tag is only on files related to package A and package B. There is no other file that is going to be, let's say, tagged with any information that is not relevant.
Let's see. Is that possible?
Yes.
So one thing, so I would like others to chime in with this one. So
yeah, sure. It's a very different approach than what we do today, but it's very much possible. But it makes it way more clearer in my view. But that's my 2 cents.
So in this one, let me ask one more question, Wim, and then probably I would really want Rado, Fiacra, Victor, Tal, Stephen, others to chime in on this one. So let's say we do this. We have one branch per package. Let's say we achieve it somehow. Let's say R3 release time comes.
Yep.
So when we cut the release, which packages do we include? Because I mean, which version of the packages do we include? Let's say let's just take the example of Multis, and let's say take the example of let's say free 5GC core. Just saying. So let's say free 5GC has changed, and Multus has not over a period of the release. Say nothing has changed in the Multus one, and pre-page, let's say we change a couple of things. So during the release time, what we're doing is we are actually tagging
Everything.
everything today, right? So we call it V2.0 or V3.0 at that point of time. So are you suggesting that we do not do that? Or are you suggesting that at that point of time, we tag each one of them V3.0 and include them in the release?
So you have two options in my view. So let's talk catalog in particular, right?
Yeah, catalog only, I'm talking. Yes, yeah.
So you basically have two options. Either you don't tag the specific release of our release, right? And we just, because at the end of the day, when we do the installation, whether we tag the full release or the specific tag of a specific package, does it matter? I would even advocate that our release should basically say, I take this version of this package, this of this, and this of that, and that, and that's it. You don't tag the whole thing of catalog with a Nephew release 3 or something like that. You could, in my proposal, you can still do that, but you don't have to.
Yeah, but anyway, for the commit log purposes, we may just tag it for the release, just to say that this is where the release was done from the repo perspective.
But there is nothing. You could also have another file that basically makes a reference to each of those versions of those packages, right, of the catalog. And that's your source of truth, if you will.
Okay. So
that's optional. I'm not having a strong opinion on that personally, but that's an option you have.
Yeah. So yeah, please, Rada, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Wim. Basically, what we're trying to do here is to replicate how the package managers work in, let's say, Linux distribution, right? So if you're releasing, let's say, Debian 16, whatever, you don't tag like Postgres with tag 16. It's in version 9 or whatever, or like MySQL or whatever. So basically in each distribution is a file which holds the references, whatever format it is like text or some kind of database, whatever, but it just holds the references, like which packages in the big whole repository. So if you go to, let's say, the Debian pull directory in repo, you got basically everything crammed in, sorted by the first letter of the name, right? And you got a few versions in there. So like if you release version 9.0.0, in the file containing the references to them, you got all the sets of packages with different versions. And I think it's like it makes no sense really to reinvent the wheel. I mean, this approach works for a number of years for a number of distributions. So maybe that's the way to sort the catalog as well.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, think about it. Let's say the catalog packages of OAI, we are not tagging with Nephew either, right? Or the vendors and stuff like that. We don't tag them, right? Because we don't even have access to the repo and stuff like that. So we should go there to a model. We tag core, right? So what we deliver is core, and catalog is a means to an end for us, right? So we basically call upon stuff, right? And I think it simplifies stuff, in my view.
Victor?
Yes. Yeah, I see all the benefits that manage everything isolated. I guess as Rado mentioned, we are like following it's the natural, like how every single project is evolving, and we can manage everything isolated, which is great. Like I mean, it's okay. The only thing that I guess is like we have to like create something like a tooling or something that we, for example, we were using the Mutus example where Mutus bumps a new version and we have to incorporate that one. I guess we have to create like some tools to not only to modify for example, the image tag. So we need to run certain workflow and also generate the new branch like in automatic fashion, and also modify the references because most of the packages we have references to those packages internally. So we have to collect automate all this process. That's the only thing that I see. I know that is not a roadblock. It's just something that we have to consider, like create that tooling, like all the, and also do some research, like if we have something like fixed action or something that can help us to alleviate the process, because we have to do it manually, like detect all the dependencies and also bump the versions and tag the packages and submit all these changes. It's going to be a nightmare for whoever who decides to do it. So the other approach, like having everything like in a single version, especially for the catalog, could be nice for having like a snapshot of the releases. Like if you want to use a previous release, like we only put everything together, and that's like kind of a snapshot, like all the dependencies, all the things are there, and we validate that snapshot. But I don't think that behaves like a real world, like that's how packages work. So that's why I prefer like what Wim is suggesting, having everything isolated. But again, that I guess requires a lot of tooling and automating process.
So yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I think so. I think we also need to think about the other problem that we are trying to solve when the release time comes. Uh, today we are, yeah, I think that may, how do we, how do we distinguish between the main package and the release packages? Hita, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm misunderstanding it, but I feel like there's a huge disadvantage to this as well, that you'll never be able to see the complete repository at once, right? You have to do a manual checkout of each branch to see each package, right? Or if that's not the level of granularity, maybe we want a branch for a number of packages that are related, like a branch called OAI for all OAI packages, but still, you won't be able just to look at the directory and see all the packages because they're divided among branches. You have to do manual checkouts of each one or clone each branch separately. So you just get a lot of clones. Another disadvantage, I think, is well, when we refer to these packages, right, through Porch, so when you define a repository in Porch, you can give it, you give it the URL and you give it also the branch. So will we have to define different repositories for each package?
No, Porch, it works today with Porch. I can tell you that. Also, for example, if you clone, if you use, let's say, Git clone, you have the tools that basically clone all the branches at once.
Sure. Yeah. But you'll have to check out each individual branch to get it.
No. That's not true.
Well,
yes, if you want to see it, if you want to view it.
If you want to see it, yes.
Yeah, so you have to
locally, but
you basically have to you have to basically go to the branch to see it, yes. But that's basically saying I want to see the package right now. You see everything, even if you don't want to, right?
So yes, I think to me, I share some of the similar thoughts that Charlie is expressing. So when I go to a source code, the fundamentally, if I obviously it will land me in the main branch, and if I want to choose a particular branch, unless it's an outdated branch, sometimes branches are too old. If I want to see something the branch which is relevant, when I go to the branch, general expectation is it mimics what is there in the main branch. So one thing is it's confusing, maybe confusing to the viewer. Okay, I go to the main branch, I see everything, and then go to this thing, I just see 2 files. And like Tal said, somebody cloning it, it's a similar viewing experience. When you clone it, if you see, open up the main, you'll see everything. But on the, if you go to the command line and let's say git checkout multis, then you will only see 2 files maybe.
Yeah, or 1 file. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 file or whatever.
Whatever, but yeah. So
if you go to that extent, Wim, do you think it makes sense for us to reorganize the repos into multiple repos? Instead of, I think we went back and forth with this. I know we had multiple things for packages, and then everything we wanted to consolidate them into catalog. We had multiple different places where the packages used to live. Now that we are figuring out the disadvantages that you mentioned. And if you want to have a uniform developer experience and also very seamless, natural experience from a Git perspective, you look at the code, you go to a branch, you look at the same code, but with a different code at a different time or a different commit log. So do you think if we go that far, we need to segregate into separate repos? Like one for core, one for, not for every package.
See, the
at least a group of them.
Yeah. So the problem that we have is the following. First of all, you're reasoning from a regular code discussion, in my view. Here we are talking about catalog. So for example, as a developer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to change multis, okay, why do you care about all the other files into that repo? So I would say that the developer experience with this is even better, because what you do, you go to multis, you check out the multis branch, right? And you do your changes. You only see multis. Okay? Whereas if you do today, you have a gazillion files. Which one is multis? They have nothing to do with multis. Right? So in other words, the challenge that we have is, catalog is for me a very special thing, because at the end of the day, what we are trying to do is, I see the repo as a container of a collection of stuff, right? But it's just a container. It's not a regular thing on how you manage code and stuff like that. We are managing packages. A package is a contained subdirectory within the repo. We are not managing code here, right? So if you do a change, if you want to do an update of multis, right? I would say it's way better from a developer experience that I only see multis, because I know exactly what I have to do. There's no point for me seeing free 5GC files if they have nothing to do with multis.
Yeah, if that's the case, in my view, if that is the case, we need to, that means they are putting them in a single repository is not the right thing to do either, right?
Yeah, but the challenge with a single repository is, or multiple repositories, Bala, is first of all, you have to set up RAW, you have to set up ownership. There is a gazillion overheads that you need to do with what I'm proposing here. And I'm not saying it has to be one repo, it can be multiple repos, but it can work with one repo. What you're basically managing is packages in a repo. We are not managing code, right? Actually it's code, but we are managing packages here. And that's what we are talking about. And we use a repo as a container to hold them.
Yes, got it. My thing is I'm trying to avoid the special casing. I agree with your problem statement, but I think probably how we had to do it, I'm trying to think like a uniform experience, irrespective of which repo you check out. With that said, Tal has raised his hand. Tal, go ahead.
Yeah, I absolutely understand what Wim is saying here in terms of correctness, but I think Git would be just so bad at this. Imagine a scenario like this. So let's say we rename one of our models. Let's say instead of NF deployment, we decide just to call it deployment. And let's say we have 50 packages. Okay, now you want to rename those 50 packages just that thing. That is 50 branches that you check out and do a PR separately for each branch. That would be 50 PRs. right? Because we can't treat the whole repository. You can't do a PR across multiple branches, right? It's per branch. I think it would just be really, really cumbersome. Although you're absolutely correct in terms of, yes, that's the version you want to change. But, you know, I put a comment here that, you know, our big problem here is that our Porch versions are linked to those tags. That's very problematic when you have a repository with multiple packages, right?
No,
Maybe, yeah,
I,
go ahead.
that's not the case. Ports is not the issue, right? What you point out is correct, but I would say you have to do your 50 PRs because each package, I see it as an individual contained thing. And if you
Sure, but
happen,
it's just very cumbersome. I'm not saying it's not wrong logically, but I'm saying it's just very hard to work with. Yeah, it's practically hard.
I would argue around that because if you create a very small tool to do it, it is actually not so bad. Your example that you would say is actually not so bad. You can actually create a tool that does that easily. But I would say that even you having to, because you anyhow need to change those 50 things, right? You will have to create a new tag for the 50 things anyhow. So anyhow, whether it's 50 or not, you'll have to go to 50. You have to do 50 operations no matter what.
Right, but if you, I mean, think of just regular source code that doesn't have this issue when you're doing
We are not talking, this is not source code, Tal. This we are managing packages.
I understand. It is weird, but I'm still trying to be practical at the same time as logical. And I think we're trying to drill down to where the root of the problem is. I do think it has to do with versions and how Porch uses them. I know you disagree, but
because Porch works in this mode. I have used Porch. I have configured Porch in this mode. There's no problem with Porch here.
Yeah. I'm not saying that Porch can't handle it, right? Because Porch can also handle directory structures versus branches, right? It also has those two modes. But the question is it serving our workflow well or not? Fikra has his hand up.
Yeah, just very quickly, I would agree with a lot of what Fim says in terms of this became a major pain point in previous projects we were on. We were dealing with Helm charts, but similar situation, where everything was being tagged with the release version, and it was decided they should be standalone. They should be tagged as individual components, um, or released as individual components. I don't see how this can be done in a single repo easily though. I understand what you're saying, Ben, but I can't see it. I can't see it working with the catalog repo very easily.
I mean, yeah, the one way to do it with a single repo is to create a branch per package. Basically, that's the way to do it. It has consequences, but the question, it all depends on what type of are aiming at. But yeah, I'm of the opinion that a package is a package, and that's it.
Yeah, and it should be like as you said, you should be able to iterate or develop a single package on its own track. I understand completely what you're saying, but unfortunately, because they're bundled into a single repo, you're kind of, it does become cumbersome from a dev point of view. You know what I mean? It's just simple, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, Vivek, I totally agree on that one. I think we agree on different points, and probably Tal, you go ahead and then I'll ask something. Then I will.
I want to propose something else, maybe, you know, which is similar to what we were doing until now, but with a twist, right? So branches, I think, are very hard practically here, but tags are very cheap and easy. So imagine we have a single branch, but instead of just tagging V011 for everything, right, which we don't want to do, we have tags per package, right? So multis dash V1, multis dash V2. Now
we have that already. I think we do that.
Wait, Wim, please let me finish. So the thing is that when there is something weird here. So let's say I need to use package multis V2. Now I'm getting a snapshot not just of multis, but of all the other packages too. However, the way Porch works, right, it only is looking at that directory anyway, right? So the other packages, even though they're tagged under multis, we're not paying attention to them, right? So we can still use that tag as a version. So what we'll just have many, many tags, which I think is very, very cheap and easy to work with. You can still see the entire, the entire repository at once and advance it together, right? So I don't know if that makes sense, right? But I think that's similar to what we're doing now.
That's what we do today, Tal, in my view. I mean, that's what we have today.
Well, very similar, except we have a one version for everything rather than tags per package, right? I'm suggesting adding a prefix.
We did in the, I mean, I think at some point we had tags per package.
At some point we did, yeah.
So I was thinking along similar lines too, but we had to be very careful when we review to make sure only that Multus related packages are going to be the ones that are part of the PR or whatever the changes. So it means there could be cause for human error, which means you could probably include.
It doesn't matter, because the reason it doesn't matter, so even if you make another, this is only about the tagging, right? But the tag is only useful, right? The whole reason we need to tag the version is that Porch relies on those tags, right? Branch or tag, right? The reference.
But I think now, so first of all, with both approaches, Porch has no problem, right? So we are talking about the developer experience. For me, it's very... Developer experience means editing packages, right? For me, it is very strange if I would say, I want to update Multus, and I see a bunch of files that have nothing to do with Multus. For me, as a developer experience, I found this really weird, right? That's because a package, you're editing a package. So the fact that you have to create 50 PRs, in my view, is actually a good thing, because it actually resolves the fact that a human is only changing one thing at a time.
Yeah, I would even for any source file. I'm only changing one source code in a huge repository with a lot of modules.
It's a different thing. We are updating a package. So you're updating a package. If you were updating a package and you change 50 other packages, I would say it's a bad behavior.
So I think let me propose something. We are handling two different scenarios here. One is the release process itself, how we want to do the release, how we want to support the release, how we want to apply fixes to the release. I think that is one thing. And then we have a special case with the catalog. So I would suggest let's take this iteratively, one by one. And from the release perspective, I think we are, in my view, maybe my understanding is wrong, purely from a release perspective, let's just forget the special case of catalog for a minute. Can we decide that we will create a branch for the release? I think if we have that, I'm just taking it iteratively, because I think then we can think a little bit more clearly about the catalog. So from a release perspective, a branching perspective, I'm thinking probably creating a branch per release is going to solve a lot of our issues, a lot of our problems. Either supportability perspective, cherry picking fixes, somebody wants to create a product based on particular thing. It's long living, it's very visible, and it's also very cheap in Git. So can we say we can do that? And if that's the thing, probably we can make that as a decision and continue the discussion with the catalog, how we want to do the catalog. Or is there any objection to that? Let me put it that way.
Wait, all right. I think for me, the question, I raised my hand, I didn't know. So for me, the question is, when do we create the branch and how do we handle the branch, right? I don't think I don't have a disagreement with creating a branch.
Yeah. So we'll create the branch at the time of the release win.
Yes. And then how long does it live?
It lives in theory forever.
So do we fix automatically in that branch or only on demand? So
only on demand. For example, let's say we want to create a patch fix, right? Let's say we want to create a patch release. Let's say we release 3 R3 And then let's say we want to release our 3.1, that means we need to put some fixes into that one. So we put fixes only intentionally, not all the fixes will go there.
Okay.
Yeah. Or if somebody says we have this, and somebody, let's say tomorrow somebody wants to do a distribution on Nefio, and let's say they want the particular security fixes, we'll cherry pick. It's only intentional.
Okay, that makes sense.
Cool. Thank you so much. So I think we are let's Rado, I think probably let's make a decision point on that, and we'll create the branches for the releases that will serve the bigger purpose. And with that, probably we can continue with the catalog discussion. Thank you. Victor, we have your
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing that I was saying is, are we capturing all these ideas? I don't know. That's a good discussion. So maybe it should be nice to have some notes for future reference. But the other thing that I was
think probably
thinking
the best place is to use that in the GitHub discussion, Victor. I think I started the GitHub discussion. I think Wim also had pointed some of the things there. The one he raised it here, he has already pointed that in the GitHub discussion.
Exactly, because the other thing that I was thinking, I mean, whatever bullet strategies that we can choose, I think one thing that we have to consider, for example, when we were fixing multis, we have to do some testing, and for running that testing, it was just until the PR was merged. Like, so remember, like that, for example, I was pushing a change on catalog, and I have to rely on John to modify the tag to run the end-to-end. So just to make sure that that particular change was working, and at the end, the initial change didn't work. So I have to put another change. So I also have to put that in consideration. So we need a way to make our life easier in terms of like testing and verifying everything, because if we are going to it's the only thing that we have to consider. It's very problematic. I mean, for releasing and all the rest of the process is fine. I mean, we can just verify something is working, but for testing and validation, it's a little more headache, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Thanks, Victor. Good points. So Rado has a good point. Rado, can you please talk it out about the submodule, please? Maybe that sounds like a good idea, maybe interesting idea. Can you please talk about it?
Yeah, I've put it in a chat. So I'm not really that familiar with port versioning, how it handles it. So I'm not sure if it will work. But how about making a catalog repo just a set of Git submodules, and move specific packages to the outside org, make them, each have a separate repo. And basically, if you will create, let's say on the catalog, you're creating release version 3, you just have references to specific versions of like whatever version you want to have for like a Multus, Nefio core, and so on in those external repositories, and just putting them in external org just to have kind of like a clean Nefio org. So you will have your Nefio API and so on, and then have a bunch of packages in some separate repos in outside org. Because for like I agree with what Wim is saying, to treat it as a package, but on the other hand, like for example, this could work if we have some kind of like really good working automation to handle all of this stuff. But just imagine if you have like 200 packages and scrolling through this combo box on a GitHub page to pick, the specific one from it. Just to quickly see if you want to check something without checking the source code, going to your IDE, checking the specific branch or pulling it or whatever, then comparing with some previous version and so on. You would just want to go to GitHub page and then quickly check it. So in this sense, it might be a cumbersome thing to handle this. But just from kind of like a handling it programmatically, or how the pod will see it, I think that's the good idea, to have them, like, you will have a separate branch, and in this branch you will have only files that are related to what you're doing. But let me just ask, like, what's with the dependencies? So, for example, you have a few packages that all depend on each other. So how this dependency will be visible to somebody that just want to start working on it, or just work on it like a half year ago and just don't remember what depends on what? Then if they're like in a separate branches, you'll have to check out the branch, check out some reference there in a file or something that it depends on something else, or how does it look?
But does that mean, like, we need some kind of manifest then? Do we need some kind of release manifest for the specific versions for a release?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
But even today, you have to do that today anyhow, right? Because you're having dependencies outside of Nepio that you have no control upon, like the ORAN and stuff like that, right? So that's something you have to do no matter what.
Mm.
But I guess you could have a core, like for Nepio core, you could have we could define the specific versions of the packages that are required for release 3, say. Of the subcomponents, sub packages, couldn't you? There needs to be some kind of control mechanism there, doesn't there?
Okay.
So Radu, this submodule, right? Let's say we create a submodule for each package, right? So how does it look from a release perspective? I'm asking you from a developer perspective, how the Git clone thing works, and the PR perspective, and then from a release perspective. What is the experience? Can you please
from the release perspective, you will change your .git modules file to point it to specific version. Let's say you've tested version, I don't know, 10 or whatever of mentioned here Multos, and it works. It was tested with end-to-end and so on. You want to use it, you just change it in the catalog repo, which would be basically like an empty directory with README and Git modules file, right? So changing the version, which points to whatever repository there is. If it's ours, not ours, doesn't matter. Just it pulls it as a submodule to this repo. You can go to this repo and you can pull the specific submodule, or you can pull all of submodules there. Doesn't really matter, but it will kind of act as a the file that describes like which package version is in our release. So then you will change this this file and say you're making a release 3. So you're just creating a branch in this particular commit, and you will have your branch with your set of versions of the packages. So I think it will be a simple approach, maybe not trying to find a good word here, but maybe not this like automation oriented, more like something that's easier to understand if you're starting with project or coming back to it after some time or something. So it's at least for me, it would be like easier to understand at the beginning, I guess. But if it's a good solution, I'm not sure. Just saying.
So if we were to create submodules today with our existing catalog repo, how easy or difficult it is?
Well, you will have to you will have to create repositories for every, like separate repository for every package, in order for it to work like this, that you have like your Git modules file, and you have like, okay, this we want in version this one, this in version this one, so it will point to specific, like whatever you can point your Git module to, so like SHA1 hash, or the target branch, whatever.
So the basically first step is to create per repo for a package.
Repo per package, which I would just to have some kind of order here to keep them in another org, so like the Nefio dash packages or whatever, so just not to litter the what we have in Nefio project org.
I see what you mean. Okay. So basically it may be from group of packages. For example, Nefio system, there is one repo, and then FreeFiGC, there is one repo.
Yep.
And then things like that. And then you're saying this particular repo will treat them as submodules and then pull them together. And in the main repo, you'll specify which exact version you want.
Yes. So you'll pull your catalog repo, which will be basically like only 2 files or like a few files there. You check out version 3, and you have your submodules defined there to point to whatever was tested with version 3 or 5 or 10, whatever version is there. So I don't know if it will work, but I guess it will kind of replicate like what you have with the package managers, traditional package managers, and repositories, which some of them have like a flat structure, so like everything is in one directory, and you have like some kind of quote unquote database to point to specific files that belong to particular release, something like this.
Yeah, very interesting idea. So Wim, Tal, what do you guys think about that?
I think we have to check this with ports, I think, probably, right? The submodules.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how ports would.
Yeah, so I don't know either myself. So that's the part I'm not sure about. So that we have to validate. But at the end of the day, I think rather whether, because if you use modules, you kind of have, it's similar, right? At the end of the day, it's similar to the branches at the end of the day, not. But you have a module per entity. I think Tal also has raised his hand. So,
yeah, I'm a little worried about the complexity here, but there's a general principle here. If we put every package in a separate repository, which could make sense. I mean, it would absolutely pollute our Nefio project org. I think we would want to maybe create a separate org called Nefio Catalog. But I think that the bigger issue is like, what is the idea of a repository, right? Because, do we need to define a separate repository object for every package we want to use? We don't, right? The whole idea is that a repository is a catalog to an extent. If you define it in port, here's the repository. The idea is that there's a lot of different packages here and you can use them, right? So the specific issue is versioning. I think we need to try to solve that issue without, changing that basic convenience, right? And in terms of our workflow, I think there are a few proposals here that we can think of, but maybe it's best if we write down the individual proposals very clearly, what they entail and how they look and how the workflow is. And that can help us decide which one is the easiest for us. So yeah, we're trying to think practically, right? In terms of working together. I still think the idea of like doing 50 PRs for for a change to me is not very practical. I know that there are tools you can do that, but you'll just see in GitHub, if you go, you'll see like 50 PRs. We're going to get 50 email updates, 50 merges, right? It's something that doesn't work well. It could work maybe well with a Git workflow, but not with a GitHub workflow, which I think is more repo specific.
Yes.
Anyway, that's my jumble of thoughts.
So on that one, yes, I think we're just about time. Great, Airtel. One thing is probably, I think with the discussion, Wim, could you please elaborate on your point? And Tal, did you add? And that plus, Radok, I request you to add the points about the submodules there too. Probably let's have those things in this discussion, and let's take it from the next. Let's continue the discussion on this particular catalog thing. I know. With that said, Rado, you had your final thoughts. Then we can wrap up the call.
Sure, I'll put this. I'll put this in a discussion. On the other hand, thinking about it, it would be pretty similar as making subdirectories, which Tal suggested, like one message above mine in the chat here. And it would be kind of clearer, but still you will have to, if you want to change something, you would have to pull basically the whole structure. So every files and so on. So okay, well, never mind. I'll put my thoughts in a discussion.
Yeah, please, Tal, Wim, please chime in your thoughts too in that discussion. Really very fascinating discussion. Thanks, Wim, for bringing this up, and thanks everyone. I will update that discussion with the main one decision we took about the release thing. Then we'll continue the discussion and the testing thing in the next one. Victor and Rado, probably please think about discussing this in our conference too. The one summit developer conference for the test framework. I'll just leave you with that thought, and then we'll discuss further in Slack. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
All right. Yeah, cool.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.